Welcome, my Wildmoor friends. It's a brand new day. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're going to do a little oversharing, and with that, let's get started. Like a good little girl, I grew up following the rules, but I never really fit in. Then I lost all I had, only to begin life again. So I ran away to the road, a tiny trailer in tow, and along the way discovered the truths I now know. So take a deep breath, grab a good cup of joe, 'cause this world it's a changin'. Inhale, here we go. I'm just flying by, yeah, I'm just flying by, away from them, and no. As you can see, in response to my last video, I was wearing the most practical coat. This is my favorite coat. It's my homage to Beryl Markham in West with the Night. If you haven't read it, awesome book. So I wanted to talk to you today about something that I didn't even know I would need to talk to you about. But part of, when I started this sort of next version series off, I asked, what would it be like to be over 50? And can you hear the big plane in the background? When I started the shift in this vlog about the idea of what does it really mean to be over 50 and what is it like to be over 50 and get older in a rural town, one of the things I didn't realize, I guess, even though I should know better, is that, I've started asking people that are older what they would do differently to prepare for the last half of their life. And what was fascinating to me is that they couldn't even hear the question that I was asking. The response was more like a defense of the choices for their life, which is not what I was asking.
Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us.
So that really got me onto this idea that maybe we need to talk about it in a lot more detail. And so I'm in the process of trying to collect information that allows us to think about it differently. And the reason I say that is I have come to the aha, you may have too, is that if you've ever been around older people, you realize all of a sudden things are really hard to do. And so whatever you see for yourself at the end of your life, you really have between 45 and 65-ish to prepare for that time. But it shouldn't be just about trying to prepare for the last stages of your life. It should be about the quality of your life now. But it's actually just not that simple. And I get that because I've tried to do a lot of those things and I've run into quite a few bumps.
It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded. Don't look like they're ever gone away.
So this property that I'm on is a perfect example of somebody who didn't really want to deal with this last stage, and that he's got multiple properties. This whole place is a mess, and it's just as bad on some of his other areas. And now, he can't even hardly get out of the chair, so he can't deal with it. And so we really have three ways to approach our older age. One is to just roll the dice and hope for the best. Two is to be proactive and try to create a life that we want for ourselves. And three is to move into the city next to a hospital and nursing home. Then you're pretty much covered. So there's no right answer to any of this, and you can't plan for everything. So my question for you in the comments below, which I would appreciate, is what kinds of things are you thinking about in terms of how your life will look towards the end and what you could do about that right now? Because that's really the hardest part, is trying to envision what will be and how to deal with it in the immediate. Just something to think about. I appreciate your thoughts. I will be factoring those into this little project that I'm developing as we go.
They ain't never gonna change these battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be.
So I wanted to do just a little personal reflection on some of this because, you know, like so many of you, I had this idea about what I wanted to accomplish when I left on this journey, and I've shared quite a bit about it. You know, my goal was to find a farm or ranch to homestead, to find my tribe or my little town, to create this self-sufficient kind of off-grid life with a group of like-minded people. That is not what has happened in any way, shape, or form. And I really only plan on living in the trailer for 1 year. And what's happened is I love living in the trailer. So my goal isn't to move out of a mobile space, that I don't have the energy or the functionality of working full-time at a job, of taking care of the house, the dog, the cat, everybody, plus homestead, plus become a self-sufficient individual. That is just not going to happen. So and the last thing being, the biggest and the hardest part to this has been this idea that I could find a tribe or a town that I would fit in with and make my start there. And that has not happened in any way, shape, or form. And so there's been a lot of disappointment and a lot of restructuring about what these ideas are. So, you know, when I talk to you about what does it mean to create, what do you want to plan for, you know, in your future? Part of that has to be super flexible because you just don't know what the future will hold. And
you gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society.
And that's really, you know, the second piece of this oversharing moment is that some of the things that I thought I'd replanned or readjusted to are just not going to be working out. And, you know, I talked about in a few videos back, you know, this thing with my arm. And I understand it better, but it's been very impactful because basically in order to get better, I need to not write and I should stay off the computer. I don't know how to function in the world without using my right arm. I don't know about you, but it is a necessary part of my day. So there's a bit of a panic around that. You know, there's also this idea that I love the Southwest, and I'm sure you've noticed that there's been some shadowing going on up here, and if you hadn't, you will now. You remember I had my skin cancer on the end of my nose. Well, I had like a freckle, and I tested it a month ago, and there didn't seem to be any cancer reaction to there's an herbal mix I put on there that activates the cancer cells. They turn white. That's how you know which ones are. And so it was itching again. So I did it again, and the whole area lit up. And so that part fell out. So I thought, oh, I'll just clean it up a little bit. I covered a bigger area. That whole part lit up. And I'm starting to feel nervous about the fact that I've got quite a bit of skin cancer on my face that I can't even see. And I say that because that is not how I thought all this would be going. I really truly believe the sun creates health, and I love being out in the open, but I'm having to think maybe I need to move someplace where there's a lot more trees, which doesn't fit my personal goal, but it's a shift in terms of where I saw myself as I move forward.
Your D is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I want to share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
I'm sharing that because, these are big shifts. There's the shift that, what am I going to do if I can't support myself through writing and computer work, which is something, that's a problem. There's a shift between, I've got a health issue now, which is obviously more complicated than I thought it was. And, there's this shift with this whole caregiving thing. Like, how am I going to get back and forth to a place I don't even want to go to, and there's no place for me to stay, but I have to be going back and forth, and in a reasonable amount of time, plus deal with the animals. And That's sort of the really interesting thing about this period of 45 to 65 and then 65 to 70-ish plus. You know, there's the caregiving chunk, and then there's the I need care chunk. And at the same time, wow, is life going by so fast? And how do I create a meaningful life while I'm busy trying to take care of all these other things and not have it just pass me by? Because I'm sure you've noticed that time moves more quickly as we get older. And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is what's hardest, I think, about this last half, about the first half, as I listen to young people talk about how they know everything, just like I thought I knew everything, is that you know, I don't have anything in common with that part of me anymore. I'm grateful for what she went through because I feel like that made me who I am. But there's no comfort in the past to guide me to the future, because the future's looking very different than what we thought it would be. It's a different American dream. It's not a new American dream. It's not the American dream. I believe that we're approaching a different American dream. So one of the things I'm really coming to understand, and I wanted to share with you as a perspective, not as a right or wrong, as a perspective, is that this part of life is about letting go. And it's harder, I'm finding it's harder, am I choking here? I'm finding it's harder for me to let go than it was for me to build up.
That reached 100 million people, I tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given.
But this letting go of the stuff, letting go of the ideas, letting go of youth, letting go of dreams, letting go of the plans, letting go of control, because you just clearly, there's no way to control all this. I'm finding that part is harder than I want it to be or that I thought it would be. So I share that just so that you know that maybe if you've been thinking about this stuff, you're not crazy. And the last piece that I want to add about that, because I don't want to lose this idea of wild, and that, you know, when you watch nature let go, they do a much better job than humans do.
Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater...
So those are my two requests. One, what kind of stuff are you planning about? What kind of stuff are you planning for now in your future? And two, I'd love to hear how you are doing with your own letting go, because let's just be honest, there's a lot to let go. So with that, I want to say thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your likes, your subscriptions, and your comments. They are appreciated and welcome. So we'll just hold tight, take a deep breath, and see you next time. Oh my God, I just did another humongous monologue again.
I also love you.